Okay, I'm already starting to live stream. I believe it's starting on time. I can, not always. How many of y'all heard of Vince Lombardi? Who was it? Football coach. But what about it, the football coach? What team did he coach for? They Packers. He won the first couple Super Bowls, I guess. Started Super Bowls. But he also had a philosophy. They call it Vince Lombardi time. Vince Lombardi time is 10 minutes early. Okay? Can be. You're going for a job interview. Be 10 minutes early. You go to work. It don't hurt to be 10 minutes early. So forth. But anyway, I'll take roll in a minute. It's important you have a textbook. This is the third week. If you don't have a textbook by the end of this week, I would please ask you to drop the class. Okay? You cannot make it without a textbook. That is your asset that you need. Okay? Now, I lowered the price from $350 some textbook, hardcover, and workbook down to $208, whatever it is at the bookstore. Okay? Now, somebody found a, is that the cutting? Now, you buy this for use, or somebody loan it to you, or give it to you?
Honestly, I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. But I have a couple of international students at night. Somebody gave them this book. That saved them some money. But each one of them had to pay $100 for the Cengage key. Still $100 a piece. It's better than $280 or whatever a piece. I don't know what you pay for the book. Over it's less than $100, and then your key. Have you got your key yet?
Not sure.
You need that key. You haven't been on Cengage yet? Yeah, you need to sign in Cengage. We'll give you a free trial, but we'll let you pay for it through some payment method in the Cengage. But anyway, how many of you are finished with chapter 1 on Cengage? Right. Really, all should be finished with chapter 1 on Cengage. That should have been finished last Thursday. So if you don't have that done, you're behind. Now you should be starting on chapter 2 on Cengage. How many of you started on chapter 2? All right, how far are you? 60-some%?
Finished.
Finished? What percent did you end up with? 100%, best you can do. That means you didn't miss anything. What percent are you finished on chapter 2? You see, we got 3 people up to par. You don't have to be finished with chapter 2, but you should be starting chapter 2. Okay? And when I give you a test date, all those are due, chapter 1, 2, and 3, on test date time.
So the first test is 6.
Well, tentatively the 6. Those are not signed, any kind of permanent thing. We're behind, that will be put off a couple of days, okay, or at least a class period. So I'll look at that and give you a test date. All right, but anyway, Cengage is important. Get in on it, get the free trial, whatever you have to do. Got a book, get a key. If you don't have a book, get a book and the key. Okay. All right, but accounting, we can't sit still. We can't wait for everybody. This is the third week class. I don't want to lose any of you, but I am serious. If you don't have a book by this Thursday, I would prefer you drop the class. All right, Amber Ball. Cole Walker, Robert Brown, Alexandra, Faith, Matthew. Now Matthew's completely online, but he keeps up to date with everything. He emails me about every day. All right. Amando is not here. Ahmadou. Okay, you came in. All right. Alexandra Fanning. Okay. Justin Fox. Margot. All right. Our international student hasn't made it yet. Robert Harris. Okay, Dylan. There's another one. Well, that's an international student. See, Harper's not. Is Harper here? Harper. Colton. Colton. It's for the missing Kelly. Donnie. Jeffrey. Sam's. Never seen Sam's. Don't know Sam's. Courtney. Courtney emailed me this morning, so she's around. Kinley Webb. Jacob. Joshua. Corey. I don't think this class is supposed to be officially live streamed, but I'm doing it anyway. And Courtney, of course, is live streaming. Don't know who else might be, but I will set a test date. If not today, I'll set a test date on Thursday. So we need to finish 3 chapters before we do a test. And then the other test will just be on 2 chapters. Test on like 4 and 5, a test on 6 and 7. The last test will probably be 3 chapters, 8, 9, and 10. So 4 tests gives you a change. Some instructors only give 2 tests. You mess up on one, it's hard to pull it up. But 4 tests. Now, another thing I do on the first test, and this gives you late book owners extra change. The second test builds on the first test. So if you made a 50 on the first test, I'll give you a change to count the second test double. All right, if you made an 80 on the second test, you'd have 2 80s, instead of a 50 and an 80. So that gives you plenty of change to get a good grade on the first 2 tests.
Would you do it for first too?
No. She's wanting to know if she makes 80 on the first test and flunks the second test, she counts the first test double. Good try, Marco, but this is not, let's make a deal yet. All right? Okay.
So we'd like to have a note sheet.
Don't know about that yet. Don't know. But the problems that will be on the test, I'll pretty much tell you what the problems will be. There'll be a few multiple choice, but I will tell you what the problems will be. And for certain, one of them will be chapter 1, that little income statement, balance sheet, and capital statement. We practice that. We practice that accounting equation. I'll wait and see if I give you that or not. Chapter 1. Now, chapter 2, you can guess there's going to be a lot of journal entries. So we're going to have to practice journal entries. And that's what we're going to do this morning. And I believe I asked you to do what for the day? Problems 1 and 2?
2, 1A, 2, 2A.
All right. Now, these problems are at the end of the chapter. When I say problems, it doesn't mean practice problem. It doesn't mean exercise. It means problem. Now, I know some of you like to be led straight to the problem to give you a page number. I don't feel like I should have to give you a page number if I say problem 218, find 218, and so on. But a couple of the online students, they want to know the exact page. Let me bring up a solution here. We'll look at a problem. You see, some of these PE exercises that we didn't go over, you're welcome to do any of these, all of them on your own. But these were just talking about debits and credits and normal balance. So before we look at that problem, how do you increase an asset? Anybody? With a debit or a credit? You increase it with a debit, okay? How do you increase capital? How do you increase a capital account? Credit. Capital's on that right side. How would you increase accounts payable, which is a liability? Credit. How would you increase drawing, which the owner's taking out money for personal use? Increase drawing. Debit. And how about rent expense? How do you increase that? Debit. And that's all some of these exercises we're going through, these little PE exercises. All right, there's one I wanted us to probably do. I go to exercise 2.5 in your textbook. Exercise, now we're going to look at a couple of exercises before we look at a problem. All right, now, if you don't have a book, you got a book, come and share it. Oh, yeah, you're right.
I forgot about the trial.
All right, now if you look at this little exercise, take a minute. During the month, Midwest has a substantial number of transactions affecting each of the following accounts. State for each account whether it is likely to have a debit entry only, a credit entry only, or both. Now let's just look at that one together. So what do you think about accounts payable? Will it have debit, credit, both?
Credit.
Both. You make a debt, you pay it. All right, how about accounts receivable? Somebody owes you money, hopefully they pay you. All right, fees earned. Probably just a credit. Okay, insurance expense. Probably just a debit. All right, drawing. Just a debit. Utility expense. Just a debit. All right, now look at exercise 6, normal balances. All right, just put letters on your paper from A to J and jot down if A is the following accounts, asset, liabilities, owner's equity, revenue, or expense, and in each case, whether the normal balance is a debit or credit. So for accounts payable, write down what it is, and if the normal balance is a debit or credit. This is exercise 2.6, page 92. Exercise 2.6, page 92. Yeah, if you would.
That's account receivable. Accounts, yeah, that's why. Doing the accounting. Got it, accounts payable. That'd be under assets. It's accounts receivable.
Sorry. One of our basketball players got dead of a heart attack. And this young man was his teammate. I had one come sick this morning, it's in my next class. We're pretty upset about it. But, you know, I think maybe about 24, probably started college late, probably was a senior. Died of a heart attack. Off the one. Yeah. All right, a little easy exercise. Okay, Amber's not here today. All right, Cole, what do you think? What's the first one? Accounts payable. Amber? No, Amber. All right, Cole, how about the first one? Accounts payable. What is it? Well, what kind of a balance? Normal balance. It'd be a credit. Yeah. All right. Robert, how about accounts receivable?
Asset.
Right? Debit, yeah. Normal balance. All right, Alexander, how about the capital account?
Owner's equity.
Owner's equity and
Credit.
credit balance. All right, Safe, how about the drawing account?
That'll be a debit.
It have a normal balance of a debit, but it's also under owner's equity. Okay. All right. Matthew's not here. Let's see. Alexander Fanny, how about fees earned?
Fees earned goes under owner's equity and it's a credit.
All right. It does go under owner's equity because it's going to be a plus to it, but
Oh, no, revenue. Sorry.
you'll put it under revenue. It will be a plus to owner's equity. All right. Then how about office equipment, Justin?
That's
All right. Office equipment is an asset with a debit balance. Debit. Okay, Ryan, how about rent expense?
That'd be under owner's equity, and expense, and credit.
All right, it is an expense, but has a debit balance. Okay, supplies. How about that one, Dylan? What? All right, supplies, asset with a debit balance. How about wage expense, Colton? I don't know if Colton's here or not. Kelly? Johnny, wage expense.
I think it would be expense and credit.
Debit, expense debit. Now, if it has the word expense after it, it's obviously an expense. It has a debit balance. It will be a minus to owner's equity, but we put it on the income statement. If it has the word payable after it, it's a liability. If it has the word capital or drawing after it, it's an equity. And you know what should be an asset, those solid items such as equipment and supplies and so on. Anyhow, normal balances. We need to know these debits and credits to make journal entries to increase and decrease. That's what we'll be doing much of the day. All right, we looked at one little exercise here, and our trial balances we've got to do. I want you to look at exercise 16, exercise 16. The exercise 16 is a trial balance. You put all 6 accounts on a trial balance. The trial balance should equal. The trial balance just has a debit column and a credit column. So look down through there, take a minute and scan those, and tell me which one is on the left side with a debit balance and which one's on the right side with a credit balance. Okay, so glance down through those a minute. Okay, Jeff, accounts payable, debit or credit? Accounts payable, liability, credit. All right, accounts receivable, how about that one? McKinley? Accounts receivable has debit balance. Jacob, how about cash? Debit. Joshua, how about capital? Be a credit. And Carrie, how about drawing? Anybody? Drawing is a debit. Now, it's the sides we're talking about now, debit side and credit side. So any of you now, fees earned, debit or credit?
Credit.
Credit. Okay, how about insurance expense? Debit, land? Debit. Miscellaneous expense?
Debit.
Now, I often have a student ask, how can assets and expenses both have a debit balance? All right, because they go on different statements. An asset goes on the balance sheet, and an expense goes on the income statement. Okay? And debits and credits just separates them to those 2 statements. All right, anybody, notes payable, credits, liability, prepaid insurance, debit, asset, rent expense, debit, supplies, asset, debit, supplies, expense. It also has a debit balance. And how about unearned rent? Unearned rent is a liability, and it is a credit. Utility expense, debit, and wage expense. So if you put those on a trial balance and you put those debits on the left and those credits on the right, it would balance. All right, now that brings us up in your work textbook to page 97. Now this problem is very important. I asked you to try to do this. Now, on Cengage, you gotta do journal entries. But what we do in the book and what we practice, hopefully will help you with Cengage. Now, you finished with chapter 2 Cengage. Was there a lot of journal entries?
Oh, yes.
A few journal entries. For those who haven't done Cengage, go on these two problems should help you with those problems. Now, they may overlap. Some of those problems in Cengage will overlap with what we do in class. Okay? That should help you, okay? But anytime you have a Cengage problem, some young man, I guess, texted me, he's not in class, and he was having trouble with chapter 1 with the problem. He said he tried every which way and it didn't work out. You know what problem that was?
It was like the 27th problem. It was one of those towards the end.
All right, problem 27.
It was one of them, yeah.
All right, now, what kind of trouble did you have with it?
Well, it was like every way I tried to add it, it was incorrect. And I can pull up a picture of it.
All right, every which way you added, I think that's what he said. It was incorrect.
It was like 18,000 plus 3,000. You know, the answer is 21,000. But that was marked as incorrect for some reason. So
what did you do? You just go on?
yeah, I just went on and skipped it.
I'll have to look at that problem and see why it didn't add up to be correct. So you're not the only one. So on chapter 1, somebody may have trouble with problem 27 or something like that. So
It was actually the last problem in the chapter.
okay. But just to warn you about that, maybe some of you, did you try different answers to see if it worked?
Yeah, I tried everything I could, everything I could think of, and nothing worked.
Okay. So if it's not workable, if you can't get an answer, just don't worry about it. What did that pull your score down to on chapter 1?
Roughly a 96.
So 4 points?
Yeah.
Well, if everybody has that same problem, I'll give you that 4 points back. Everybody 4 points back on chapter 1 homework. Okay?
All right.
On chapter, I think if it's like the total income, because that was giving me some issues until I did even though the answer was right, until I did the previous statements, it would not check and give that answer as correct. It said it had to complete the previous parts before.
Must have been the capital statement you had to complete. So again, that's that. So you got yours to work out.
I got mine up to like 99.37. I don't know where the other part is, because I've checked over that thing document twice.
I know probably trying to take off a point for your rules, but
Well, my there always did say it.
no, I have no idea why it took off, trying to take off a fraction of a point. But anyway, might go back and check what he's saying. So you must have worked the one previous. We got more points to do. So see if that worked. Work the one previous again, get up to that. So
Yeah, like, that's what I thought.
what problem was it? 27. You still couldn't get to work.
Yeah, it was like the very first step of it. Where I thought.
So you lost 4 points also. I'll give you those points back if we can. It's worked out, okay? But something must be workable, or you couldn't have got a 99 point something. Okay. All right. So let's look seriously at problem 1. Now, some of you worked this problem. Some of you didn't have a book. You didn't work this problem. But I want all of you to correct this problem. Take plain paper and write down the answers to this problem. It will help you along the way. It will help you with Cengage. All right, chapter 218, 2A, 218, you have to draw T accounts. And draw a lot of T accounts, so you'll have to draw your T's as we go along with each journal entry. But anyway, I just got back from Detroit late yesterday evening. Went up there to a great nephew wedding. They got married in a little German town near Detroit called Franklin Muth. Now, Franklin Muth is a little Christmas town. It has tons of Christmas stores year round for Christmas shopping. And it's a beautiful little town, but it was interesting. And the motel that I stayed in there that one night was also owned and started by German families, so forth. So that was interesting. Had a little reunion while I was up there, and 30-some relatives, most of them nieces and nephews. I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and starting to get great nieces and nephews. So, had 2 sick sisters that I had to go visit while up there. So it was a busy trip, but it was a good trip. So for a lot of construction, interstates closed off and so forth. You take your cell phone with Google Maps, and sometimes it reroutes you, and sometimes it don't.
Tell us the midterms.
The what?
Tell us
Okay, now, but why do you say that? Yeah,
Yeah, that's,
a lot of work.
yeah, right before everybody has.
There is construction everywhere in Detroit, so maybe we're
Fix the
trying.
road, you might get $300.
Yeah.
Oh, look, he's doing it.
Yeah.
He's keeping it up.
Get everybody working. That might help midterms. Okay, now some of these we'll have to look at as we're doing, but you may have to draw a T as we go. All right, starting to look at these problems. Transferred cash from a personal bank account to an account used for the business, $36,000. All right, now we're going to draw a T, and what side do we put that money on?
Left.
Well, it goes on both sides, but first, I always say do a debit first, credit second. Debit first, credit second. But what do I debit?
Cash.
I draw a T account for cash and put it on the left side. And you credit capital, you draw a T account for capital and put it on the right side. All right, so debit cash, credit capital. All right, B, we paid the October rent. All right, we debit what? Left side. What do we debit?
Debit,
Expense.
All right, draw a T account for rent expense and debit the left side. And then you credit cash, which you should already have a T account for. So far, we have 3 T's, one for cash, one for capital, one for rent. All right, we purchased an automobile for $12,000. We only paid $7,800 down. Now that's a compound interest. We got to draw a T account for what? Automobile. And put it on the left side. The whole amount, right? Now this cash we paid, where do we put it?
Right side of the account.
Credit to cash. But we have a balance that we owe there, which is a liability. So where do we put it? All right. Now, so far, I want you to look at A, 36,000. All right. Now, the accounts payable, we don't have anything to get down to F. Now, notes payable, we had 1465. Is that what we had? The notes payable for this Purchase the truck for 32.8, paying 78. That note payable should have been how much?
$5,000,
How much?
$25,000.
Oh, they've got it so messed up here. 25. Later on, we'll pay 5. It gives us a balance of 20. But it was hard to figure out what they've got here.
That 1020 is supposed to be for cash. Because that balance is for cash.
Yeah, some of these accounts up here. Well, the 12.2 is under cash. All right. Let me go on down to a couple more of these. We'll have to look at the whole picture then. It's hard to see this way, but these are T accounts. And we purchased office equipment on account for 9,000. So what do we debit? Office equipment and credit what? All right, but this looks funny here. It's got it all messed up. You see, here's the debit to cash. These are your debits to cash. These are your credits to cash. Equipment's way over here somewhere. Whoops. And I don't know that the debit balance, I don't know where the credit side might be. It's hard to follow them where they put them up there. All right. We paid cash for supplies. That's a debit to what?
Supplies.
Are you gonna draw a T for supplies? Well, now they're putting them in better shape, I guess. A debit to supplies. They don't even have their T drawn. They tell you to draw T accounts, but they didn't. And a credit to what? Because you paid cash for those supplies of how much? Now here on E. All right. Paid cash for normal or annual insurance policy, 4,000. Now where are we putting it?
We paid insurance.
As a debit and credit what? All right. Now, if you look down at the instructions, and you're doing this problem at home, as you should, if you have a book. Instruction number 1 tells you what T's to draw, don't it? You draw a T for cash and accounts receivable and supplies and prepaid insurance. Of course, assets are first, liabilities are second, capital's third, then your revenue expenses. We're not putting them in any particular order because we're doing them just by entry. All right. Then we receive cash from a client for plans delivered. So if we receive 12,200 cash, we debit cash and credit what?
Professional fees.
Professional fees. See, and again,
So professional fees in this case are fees.
the what?
Professional fees in this case is.
Fees earned.
Yeah.
No, just different names. Fees earned, revenue earned, sales, interest, income. Yeah, that's your revenue. All right, now we paid cash for miscellaneous expense, debit what?
Miscellaneous expenses.
Credit. Paid cash to creditors on account. All right. We'll credit cash for how much?
3,500.
How much?
1,500.
How come it's not up here?
Because it's a credit down cash under accounts payable. Is that where they have, it's J, I think, or I.
Just move F, H, I, J, M, and N. It should be like, if you scroll down a little bit. Yeah, they're all,
Way over here?
no, to your left. They're under accounts payable, but accounts payable should be like down.
There you go. That, yeah, accounts payable should have been moved over here.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, so you credit cash for this 4,500. and your debit accounts payable for 4,500. Yeah, these T's are not showing up good on this transparency or solution. That's straight from the company, the solution is, and that's the way they give it to us. All right, now we paid 5,000 notes payable. That'd be a credit to what?
Cash.
This is cash. And debit to what? Yeah, these are hard to illustrate. And then we received invoice for blueprint services due in November. And we got an invoice, we owe something, so we debit what?
Blueprint, expense.
All right, blueprint expense. So we have a blueprint expense, debit and credit accounts payable. All right, we recorded fees earned on plans delivered, payment to be received in November. We're not getting the money, so what do we debit?
Accounts receivable.
And we credit professional fees. All right, paid creditors, paid salaries, debit what?
Salary expense,
Salary expense and credit.
cash.
We paid gas and oil and all that repairs on automobile, debit, automobile expense and credit,
And you credit cash.
cash. Now, these are not showing up good, but if you get them in there and you get the balances, some of them like automobiles, okay, and prepaid insurance are just a one-liner. Now, we were going back looking at those accounts, like cash, it normally has debits and credits, don't it? Equipment, normally just debit entries. Accounts payable has debits and credits. Notes payable, debits and credits, and accounts receivable, debits and credits. Supplies will normally just have a debit, professional fees normally a credit, expenses normally just a debit. But if you did all of those, and you went down the left side, like we were talking about a moment ago, and the right side, I don't know what they've left off here. Has anybody got the balance here?
Should be 93,890. Both sides.
Was miscellaneous expense the last one?
Yes,
All right, that should add up to
93,890.
all right, 93,690. All right, 93,890.
800, yes.
I got that in. All right. That's just practice. May have the same thing in Cengage, it doesn't matter. Put it in Cengage if you have it in Cengage. Okay? These problems I made up, put Cengage and just pick and choose, and so forth. All right. Maybe this next problem will make a little more sense. All right, but before let's go ahead and look at problem 2. Sharon Matthews transferred cash from a personal bank account. Now, we did it and look at this. They even got over strikes on this. But we looked at it in T's, now look at it in journal form. Debit cash, 40,000. And credit Sharon Matthews Capital, 40,000. Next entry, we paid rent expense. Debit rent expense, 6,000, and credit cash, 6,000. This company did a bad job with these. Okay. We're doing the same thing, but we're putting them in journal entries. Then we transfer them to a ledger, okay? Ledger has a debit and credit side, just like the T account did. Repeat, the T account is for teaching purposes. Journal entries is the real thing, first step of the accounting cycle. You must know journal entries. And I did mention if that's all you ever learned, it would be okay if you had a good computer program. Put in journal entries, it'll post for you, it'll do all the statements for you. It'll do adjustments and closing, it'll do everything else. Okay. All right, now we purchase supplies. So we debit what?
Supplies.
And credit.
Account payable.
Now, if you don't have time to jot these down, that's okay. We're gonna work that problem in a minute and give everybody time to jot it down. All right, we paid creditors on account, debit
Accounts payable.
and credit.
Cash.
Earn fees, receive money, debit,
Cash.
credit,
Either.
paid automobile expense for the month. And let's see, miscellaneous expense. So we debit what?
Automobile and miscellaneous expense.
And credit.
Cash.
And then we paid salary expense. Debit expense and credit what?
Cash.
All right, now, these last two entries, one, the owner took out money for cash. But this one, we will learn more about this one in chapter 3 and 4. It's called an adjustment. Now, we go out there and count our supplies. And we subtract it from what we're supposed to have. The difference is the expense. So we counted and we found out the expense is $1,400. So we got to reduce our asset supplies $1,400. Now I'm going to leave these up here. You may have some similar. Now I want you to do problem 3A. Everybody now do 3A and I'll help you with those journal entries.
Just scroll down.
Do that on plain white paper.
I'll just keep scrolling. I wanna see the first entry.
Let's start. It's better to put these on certain paper, but I said the extra paper. On three, do, that's what we're doing right here. Straight. A, debit something, credit something, skip line, debit something, credit something. Okay, on three. Debit something, credit something, for explanation, if you want to skip a line. Skip this line. You guys must have an extra sheet of term paper. I just put Danny's. Now, two A, you were supposed to post, which we didn't go on through that. No, you're supposed to draw T accounts for two A and post it, and then do a trial balance. But don't worry about that. We're just worried about journal entries right now.
Is that how you do it?
Trial balance for two A. That's it.
Yeah.
Did you drink this same day? Find it online. How about trying to pay? Find this online.
I just print them all.
Okay. You know, if I find this journal paper, trial balance, it depends online. Went on. It's not your fault.
We just got to fight the nurses. So,
And nursing too, whatever.
bottom floors, that's their territory.
Some of the hospitals. So,
See,
That was okay. Yeah. Debit cards, credit card. Then you're going to be debit, so be credit, debit. Debit's got to go first. Right, debit's got to go first. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's the same thing. He did. You got debit, but right his home. Credit. All right. That's the same thing. Let's get one. Debit, credit, expense first, and then credit cash. So straighten those out. Debit cards, credit cards. Administrative. Paper, debit. And application, credit, yeah, you'll get them back. That's which fees are included, this one, and then the credit.
I think it's crazy.
Did you switch? Right, no, switch to right.
They receive it from the
I think you were credit.
yes, it's credit. That's your debit accounts.
I think if it doesn't specify that you have to pay it, I think it's just simply cash, right?
Yeah. That's this one's on the account.
Well, I was saying,
Yeah. If you got a check or something, it's your cash.
No.
they called me yesterday, when I was driving around the interstate, and asked me if I wanted to come to work on, asked me if I wanted to come to work on paper day because my boss wants to do it. She works for the city, so they need I had to replace a bunch of light bulbs. No, they're still using LED. Yeah.
You just swap.
Yeah, they have swapped LED. We can see how much ones is it a cheaper? Because they got a lot of them. But they're only two, they don't have only a lifespan. You know, if I'm ready. For now, it's big. I see, he got that one time, and he said, well, we expect you people to not have lights on while the sunlight is out. It's like, I have a basement, they have, it's also making basement.
I think it's accounts payable, so because that's gonna be paid, I guess, debit, so you're on our list. And then take more about credit card cash. You reckon your debit account.
Yeah, I think you get it.
Accounts payable.
And then you break it up, payable. And
You debit the automatic.
And then credit accounts payable.
Yes.
All right, let me have your attention on this problem. Most of you about finished. Most of you know what you're doing. Some of you almost know what you're doing. All right, but looking at any problem here, just one with a trial balance, and this would probably have a trial balance if we posted it. I don't know that yeah, you do post this one. If you had T accounts, you can post, but don't worry about posting. And here you would have ledgers. You might could jot those down. Even from Cengage, you might copy pages. But now, if we do this ledger and we take the balances and put it in a trial balance, here again, they're having trouble getting their totals. Can I take this trial balance and do an income statement? Can I find my revenue expenses on this trial balance? Why, sure. Can I do a capital statement? If I get my beginning capital here of 35,000, add my net income and subtract my drawing of 1,800, sure I can do a capital statement. Then can I do a balance sheet? Assets, liabilities, and the only thing on a balance sheet, don't use 35,000 for capital. Find your ending capital. Now back to these journal entries. As I said, some of you are catching on real fast. You're using maybe your bookkeeping that you learned a while ago. All right, now in this problem, here are the first 5 journal entries. They start repeating themselves. Pretty soon you should be putting them to memory. The owner started a business. We debit cash. We credit capital. We skip a line. We debit rent expense, credit cash. Now, some of you still want to put the debit first. You cannot. I don't know why this won't write. It writes on everything else but these transparencies. Your debit goes first, always. Then you credit cash. Now, if you were posting to those ledger accounts, you bring the 11 back here to show that you posted. All right, then we bought a van, and we paid $4,800, $4,500 down, and we owe $24,000, and we put it on a note. Somebody asked, why not accounts payable? Accounts payable is more short term. Somebody owes you within 30 days or 60 days. Notes payable, you may be 5 years or whatever. So notes payable is more long term. And then you buy another asset, supplies, and give up an asset, cash. And then you got some fees earned for cash, credit fees earned. Then you got prepaid insurance, an asset, credit cash. But now, there's not a lot of difference between the 12th, if I get it here, there's not a lot of difference between the 12th and the 23rd. What is the difference between the 12th and the 23rd? They were both for fees earned.
One was on account.
One for cash, one was on account. Now, when you send somebody an invoice, that's fees earned, debit accounts receivable. If you receive an invoice, you probably debit an expense and credit a payable. So if you receive an invoice, I don't know why they broke this up. Continue. We paid utility expense, credit cash, miscellaneous expense, credit cash. And then we got debit cash and credit accounts receivable, debit wage expense, credit cash. Has anybody got this 4 yet down to wage expense? Has anybody this 4 yet? Just a few of you, but don't expect all of you to be this 4. All right, then you had accounts payable and drawing. And if we had the ledger accounts, we could post. Now, on Cengage, do you have to post any at all on one of the problems?
Oh, yes.
So you have to post on Cengage. So that will check out your posting. Now, this chapter is a foundation. Journal entries goes with you forever in any accounting course. All right. I had one student went to Tech to work on his master's. He was an A student here, one of the best we had, and he visited us last week. And I asked him, was he making A's at Tech? He was getting a master's in accounting. He said he was tickled with B's, but the master's in accounting. Then he'll set for his CPA and so forth. And he's already had a couple offers. He's only halfway through his master in accounting. He'll go with one of the big 3 accounting firms in the country. And that way he can travel all over the country and all over the world. All right. But if you posted these even on Cengage, and again, I don't think this thing's add your balances. I don't know what it's doing here. It's messing up your balances. And in a trial balance, you usually don't even have to put these numbers down, but it's okay if you do. You don't have to put down the account number, usually in a trial balance. But in trial balance, you can see down to band or assets with a debit. And you can see you have notes and accounts payable with a credit, capital with a credit. You can see drawing with a debit, fees earned with a credit, expenses with a debit. So you see 3 items with a credit balance: liabilities, capital, revenue. You see 3 items with a debit balance: assets, drawing, expenses. Okay. What now? All right. Now, what do you mean numerical? 11, 12, 13, 14?
Yes.
You do list them in order. This is the order your ledger is probably in. This is the order your ledger's in. This is the order, then you put them on the statement, yes. And you do have 1s, and 2s, and 3s, and 4s, and 5. Yeah, it is good to put them in that order. All right. We're about out of time. So the only thing I'm going to assign you to do is please work chapter 2, Cengage. If you have any questions, bring them to class on Thursday. But read chapter 3. We'll start chapter 3 Thursday.
Is chapter 3 still going to be due, since we haven't started chapter 3, is it still going to be due September the 6th?
Chapter 3,
Cengage?
probably not. I'll probably have to up that. If I need to, we'll up it. Okay? But please get a book. Please get on Cengage. If you don't have a Cengage account, please get it.
Don't even use the app. All right, I'll see you. I'll be behind, no one ever used.